Hi, this is the Seeking My Creator channel. This is Andrew. Um, Last time I left off, I most likely should have been the Martin Luther King assassination, and I was studying Public Law 90-284, and that was signed on April 11th, 1968, by Lyndon Baines Johnson and a number of others. Let me see if I can find the other one. I want to find the one. I want to find the one that looks as close as possible to the original, the one that's scanned. That's the one. I don't need this one, and I really don't need this one. Now, the rest of those tabs is not important. All right, so this is Martin Luther King assassination that we're talking about. He was murdered on April 4th, 1968. Government lost a lawsuit which proved that they had involvement in it. I'm not going to get into that right now. All right, so this picture revolved around April. These are pictures of the April 4th, 1968 assassination. Pictures of newspapers, pictures of him standing on the balcony. Thank goodness there are no pictures of him post-mortem, meaning dead. No. All right, so in between April 4th, between April 4th to April 11th of 1968, there were riots. Oh man, these riots was bad. It's tearing up the whole place because they killed Martin Luther King. Why was that so bad? Because for all this time, they was talking peace and just quietly going on strike, quietly refusing to spend their money with people who would prevent them from doing commerce and business, such as renting a hotel room, sitting at a lunch table. Let me just pull up 1968, copy that, copy, duplicate, and do paste, right? These are all protests and marches, but I wanted to show the pictures of why they were protesting, why they were marching. Oh yeah, segregation. This is what we thought. This is part of what we were talking about. Not only was there segregation, but it was difficult for people to do basic business. So, so I just want to be clear. Martin Luther King died on April 4th, 1968. A few days after, on April 11th, 1968, they signed Lyndon Baines Johnson and a number of others signed the Civil Rights Bill. And this is the picture in color. So you see some Negro people over here, some Negro looking people over here, and you see various versions of Caucasians. Alright, so let's get into this, because I don't want Native Americans or $5 Indians or white people who have Mongoloid Native Americans as their ancestors, or who might actually have some quote unquote black Indians as their ancestors or Negro Indians as their ancestors coming on this channel trying to tell me what's what or what's not what. It's annoying. So over here, this is the text version. Let's see, can I increase the text size? Yes. Alright, so it should be clear enough to read it. If you can't read it, you can most likely look for the title, find the title, pull it up on your own computer, because you're probably watching this on a computer of some kind. Alright, Title 1, Interference with Federally Protected Activities. I've already read through this very thoroughly. Alright, Part 1, Section 1, Part A, state code. Alright, so let's just talk about federally protected activities. Nothing contained in this section shall apply to or affect activities under Title 7 of this Act. So Title 7 of this Act must have been pretty important because they didn't want any part of this Act to be used as a loophole to contradict another part of the Act. Provisions of this section shall not apply to acts or omissions on part of law enforcement officers, members of the National Guard, as defined by Section 101 of Title 10 of the United States Code. Okay, so that's part that so this is so the first part section is telling you what's being amended in the other parts of the United States Code. Now, Title 2, Rights of Indians. That's the most interesting part. Now, since it's been a few months since I did a video, and
all right, y'all. I'm sure all y'all heard of Martin Luther King. He was famous for his "I Have a Dream" speech. He was also famous for passing the Civil Rights Act of 1968. Now, what I'm trying to bring to your attention right now is that the Civil Rights Act of 1968 was really let me find it. The Indian rights of 1968. Right? So, this is something that a lot of us don't know. Martin Luther King did not march for the rights of black people. Black people have no rights here. Martin Luther King marched for the rights of Indians.
I'm going to pause this for just a second. As you can see, says Martin Luther King march for the rights of Indians. Now, prior to me doing these videos, prior to me hearing Phoenix Moon say this on one of her videos, I never heard a single person who taught me about civil rights tell me that Martin Luther King marched for Indians. I still can't find any speeches where he marched for the rights of Indians. So it seems like, it's just like a sweet little gem that someone drops off. You can't deny it because this law is well known and associated with people who are what? They're called Black and African American, but they weren't called that at the time. These people have all been called Negroes. All these people here who was rioting around the time would have been called Negroes. But in this bill, it says Indian Civil Rights Act of 1968. Now, Native Americans and white people who are $5 Indians and these Mongoloid people who look Asian, they didn't have problems singing at lunch counter. They have problems doing commerce. They have problems renting a hotel room. These would be what you would call Negro problems. Well-known Negro problems. But it says here in this law that was made to appease the Negroes, it's all about Indian rights because the Negro is the Indian.
It says it right here in the Indian Rights Act of 1968, which Martin Luther King passed. So these words, black and African American, have no standing in law whatsoever. That's why they can treat you and do you however they want to, because you still identify with being black, which means you're a property or you don't exist. That's what black means by law. Think I'm lying, go look it up. But this is the Civil Rights Act of 1968.
Now, when he means that black has no standing in law or at law, it means there's no definition of it. So when you try to look up black in any or all legal dictionaries, you're probably not gonna find a definition for it. And any word that does not have a legal definition does not exist, and they can treat it however they want. They can treat A, meaning the law, or someone who's dealing with the law, being a judge or a lawyer or anyone in any other such capacity, whether it's a legal matter, and I'm not a lawyer, just want to get that through. But when it comes to that word black or any word that don't exist in a law dictionary or in a legal setting, they can treat it like it doesn't exist.
Which you have rights under the status Indian, but not under the status black or African American. These are two titles that do not exist. Yeah, I just wanted to bring that to y'all attention, man. Y'all really need to do research on who you are and study up on your laws. Peace.
Alright, so there have been a few videos regarding Martin Luther King and the rights of Indians, and on the 1968. Oh, let me just try to open that one. No, that's not it. 1968 Civil Rights Act. Nope. Nothing. Nada. Wow. Oh, this is the. That's the video. I think that's the video we just watched. No, that's the second video of it. Let's watch that one. Let's put the whole fair use thing, because I don't want someone flagging my video later. Fair use. And I'm using fair use for the purpose of reviewing, commenting on a video. Alright, let me try this. Go. Alright. Civil rights. Alright, so just to even pull up my video, seems like you gotta type in nearly the full title. Wow. Thank you, YouTube. You're so fair in what videos you raise to the surface. All right.
All right, so this is part two. This is why I'm trying to get y'all to.
Now, I technically don't like to do a video that's gonna overlap with what someone else's. I don't like to do a video that's gonna overlap with what someone else has already published or put out there. So I'm gonna see if I can expound on what he's done.
See what I see, to have the vision that I have. You know, I don't want you to think like me. I want you to add to what I'm putting out there. I want you to build.
I haven't watched the video before, so
That's this whole purpose. So when these treaties, some treaties, not all, when some treaties and some of these civil rights acts were passed, because remember, an act is really not a law. So what they tried to do is, let's read this together. Indian tribe means any tribe, band, or other group of Indians subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. Remember that. So if you already know you have constitutional rights, and the Constitution is the supreme laws of the land, who belongs to the land? The Indian people, right? Okay, so let's go here. This whole thing is about them having jurisdiction and control over us, and when they have control over us, you know, you don't exist anymore. And then this is why Indian lands are in a trust, a so-called trust.
Now, what he means to say there is if Indians predate, he's saying Indians predate America, they predate the Constitution, and they're not under the jurisdiction of the Constitution. It's like saying, hey, the king is saying that anyone under my jurisdiction or control has to obey me. But it's like, you're here before the king's here. The king doesn't control you. So, Indians shouldn't be under the control of the United States. But it's saying, but the United States is saying, for the Indians that are under our control, these are the rules that we are setting for you.
But look, let's go here. This is why they want us to get far away from having knowledge of the Constitution. And I shared this with you guys before. Now listen to me. Let's read this together. Constitutional liberty or freedom. Such freedom as enjoyed by the citizens of a country or state under the protection of its constitution. Under the protection of the Constitution, not under the protection of a government. Understand that. The aggregate of those personal, civil, and political rights of the individual who are guaranteed by the Constitution. The Constitution and the peace treaties are the supreme laws of the land. But see, with some of the peace treaties, like I tried to tell you, they're trying to. I wish I could pull up the peace treaty where one Choctaw peace treaty, it says that Congress is to have full control over business affairs and commerce. But that's going against the Constitution because Indians regulate commerce with Congress. This is what I'm trying to get you to see. Because
Now, that's a bit tricky. If the Choctaws sign a contract with the U.S. government or whoever is saying that, hey, your Congress has full rights to tell us how to do business, that's not much of a conflict. That's called giving up your rights.
once y'all start understanding this shit, everything is going to start falling in order, falling into place. It's going to happen naturally. Once you start understanding the laws of the lands, then you're going to start understanding, okay, well, this means we have the right to bear arms. Oh, we're automatically a military.
This also means that he's approaching this from the standpoint of the American Indians made the Constitution to allow foreigners to be on the land, and there was a coup that took place, pushed them out of power, and a campaign of propaganda makes them think is being put out to make them think that the Constitution was made by foreigners rule over them, and that foreigners have all legitimacy to rule over them. Where other where the opposite is actually supposed to be true. The American Indians are the one who made the Constitution, and they're supposed to be one ruling over the foreigners on their land.
Oh, we could change things in these institutions. Let's go back. All I'm trying to do is get you to see what I see and understand what I understand. Because I won't be doing videos for long. Because I got moves that I have to make too. I have a personal life I have to get back to. But I'm just trying to build something for you guys to further build upon, because these motherfucking fake ass black leaders and all this other shit, man, they done played us out. They didn't build anything for us to continue to build upon. So we have to shatter all this shit and start from scratch just to understand what is going on. So remember, the Civil Rights Act, although I'm quite sure MLK, he tried to do the right thing. He didn't understand what we're understanding now. A lot of these so-called black leaders don't. And then a lot of these so-called black leaders just sold us out purposely. They don't give a fuck about us. But Yeah, we're going to read this again so you can understand. Indian tribe means any tribe, band, or other group of Indians subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. So when they say you're subject to a jurisdiction, they want control over you. They want control. But see, when you have constitutional rights, hey, ain't no controlling us. Ain't no controlling us, and that's what they want.
Um, if Indians made the Constitution, right? And then they put a law or a special rule. It's not a law, called an act, to control other Indians. You see how this gets confusing? Because they're saying, hey, there's a law called the Constitution that Indians made to control foreigners. But then there's a sub law called the Civil Rights Act of 1968. It's not even really a law; it's an act, and it's to control Indians. So they're Indians who are controlling other Indians. See, you gotta approach this kind of mathematically. Like if it was a computer program, and you have to logically link each previous part to another part. You just can't go for one part and then skip all the others, and then skip all the steps and logic in between to get to the answer you want. Laws are a more basic form of computer programming. They're a more basic form of rules. So you really can't do cognitive leaps or intuitive leaps. You have to go from one step to step two, step three, step four, and so forth all the way until you reach step 100. So he's kind of forgetting that if the Constitution was made by Indians, then the Indians made, then there's a law made, and the Constitution is made by Indians, but now there's a law of Indians who control other Indians, and I'm kind of ignoring the fact that there's been a coup. The Indians have been pushed out, and now foreigners rule over the Indians.
I hope you enjoyed this video. Build upon this shit.
You can't both be the king and then be the slave. You're one or the other. You can't both be free and be a prisoner of war. It's one or the other. Alright, let me close these two out. It was a very good video. I don't entirely agree with it, but it's what we make it. Alright, don't need that up anymore. I really don't need that up anymore. Now, I went through section 1 already. In my previous video, I probably went through all these sections. So I'm going to go through section 2 and see what I can find in it. So Indian tribe means any tribe or band or group of Indians that are subject to the jurisdiction of the United States and recognized as possessing powers of self-government. Now, the previous author did not read that last part. It's very important, but let's stick to the first part. They're saying what an Indian tribe is recognized as, and they're saying that it's under the control of the United States. The United States also recognizes it possessing powers of self-government. So basically, an Indian tribe is any group of Indians under the control of the United States government and still possesses powers of self-government. Now, this is important for all those of you who believe you're Aboriginal, who believe you're American Indian, or just about any other group of melanated people over in this section of the world called the United States, who know you're oppressed and who want some relief from that oppression. You must learn what are the powers of self-government. Powers of self-government means and includes all governmental powers possessed by an Indian tribe. So it doesn't mean all governmental powers, period. It means governmental powers that's possessed by Indian tribes. This is executive, legislative, judicial, and all offices, bodies, and tribunals by and through which they are executed. So this knowledge is most likely based on what Europeans and other foreigners studied when they came over to America. So this is including courts of Indian offenses. These are all things you should all be saying. Indian offenses, and that sound of water in the background is my dad washing something, washing his hands or whatever. Indian court, by any means, any Indian tribal court or court of Indian offense. Any Indian tribal court. Okay. So Indians can have more than one kind of court, which probably means Indians can have a commercial court, a petty crimes court, a civil court. They can have a whole bunch of courts. A war court. All right, let me not get carried away. Indian rights. In general, no Indian tribe exercising self-government shall. Okay, so this is telling you what they are not allowed to do. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7B, 7C, 7D. Wait, when did we skip number 8? Oh no, there's number 8 down there. Number 9, number 10. So the first part is telling of the Indian rights is telling what Indians can't do when they're under control or being oppressed by the United States government. Make laws banning religion. Abridging free speech means telling people what they can't say while in the United States, while under control of the United States, and stopping people from protesting or assembling for redress of grievances. 2. Violate the right of people secure in their houses and papers and effects, nor issue warrants. So technically, that's almost like you can't have police force as Indians. It almost seems that way. But upon probable cause supported by oath or affirmation. So yes, you can, but you can't issue arrests or searches unreasonably. All right. This section, part 3, is talking about the part A. Section 3 is talking about no double jeopardy, no breaking the fifth, no taking away private property without giving them money in return or some form of compensation. Can't deny people to facing their accusers in trial. Making excessive bail or imposing a heavy fine. All right, and those 4. And part 7 has 4 parts, all dealing with fines. Has any bill or attainder or ex post facto law. What the heck is ex post facto law? Ex post facto law. An ex post facto law is a law that retroactively changes the legal consequences of actions that were committed or relationships that existed before the enactment of the law. Wow, we have a lot of those in the United States, don't we? Anyway, let's move forward. All right. So we were at part A. We finished part A for the rights of Indians. Let's look at part B. Offenses subject to greater than 1 year imprisonment or a fine greater than $5,000. A tribal court may subject a defendant to a term of imprisonment greater than 1 year but not exceeding 3 years for any one offense, or a fine greater than $5,000 but not exceeding $15,000, or both, if the defendant or person is accused of a criminal offense who has been previously convicted of the same or comparable offense by any jurisdiction. Wait. Is this double jeopardy right here? All right. So this is how much the fine or the prison. This is how much the fine can be, how long the this is how much the fine can be, and how long the fine can be. So the defendant, person who is accused of a crime of a criminal offense, has been previously convicted of the same or a comparable offense by any jurisdiction in the United States. This almost violates part 1 up here, where it says part A, section 3, no double jeopardy. But it says down here in part B, right, part B, section 1, that a fine or imprisonment can be it can be imposed on someone if they've committed a similar or the same crime. All right, you see how these rules are mathematical, and yet you have lawmakers who write rules that kind of violate themselves. 2 is being prosecuted for an offense comparable to. Comparable means it's nearly the same as. To an offense that would be punishable by more than 1 year of imprisonment if prosecuted by the United States or any of the states. C. Rights of defendants. In a criminal proceeding in which an Indian tribe exercising powers of self-government imposes a total term of imprisonment of more than 1 year on a defendant, the Indian tribe shall provide the defendant the right of effective assistance of counsel at least equal to that guaranteed by the United States Constitution, and at the expense of the tribal government provide an indigent defendant the assistance of a defense attorney licensed to practice law by any jurisdiction in the United States that applies appropriate professional license standards and effectively ensures the competence and professional responsibility of the licensed attorneys. 3. Require that the judge presiding over the criminal proceeding A has sufficient legal training. This seems a whole lot less about what rights the Indian is getting and more about protecting the rights of the United States, or rather making sure that the rights of Indians don't conflict with the rights that the United States has already provided itself. Prior to charging the defendant, make publicly available the criminal laws, including regulations, interpretive documents, rules of evidence, rules of criminal procedure, including rules governing the recusal of judges of inappropriate circumstances of tribal government. And 5, maintain a record of criminal proceeding, including audio or other recording of the trial proceeding. Wait. Don't we have judges and police officers who say you can't record this court proceeding? It's not legal. We don't agree to it. But here you have that the Indian has to maintain the same standard as the United States and maintain their criminal and court cases when it comes to recording them with audio. or other recording of the trial. Sentences in the case. So let's see. Section B is all about offenses. Then section B, I don't know, part B, section 5. No, section D is sentences, which is where I'm at. Part D is sentences, sorry. It comes in parts A, B, C, and D so far, and the subsection is 1, 2, 3, and so forth. So section D is talking about sentences. All right. So part D, section 1 is to serve a sentence, and then even under that subsection is, because I'm going to paraphrase this because there's a lot of reading to do, a lot of words to talk out, and it probably would use a natural reader to do that for me. Okay, so Indians have to have their own sets of prisons for their criminals. These parts are talking about that it has to meet federal standards, and it also has to meet state standards and local standards for prisons. And they can also use an alternative rehabilitation center. Okay, this is important. So section part E means definition of offense. Offense means any violation of criminal law. Part F, effective section. Nothing in this section affects the obligation of the United States or any state government that has been delegated the authority of the United States to investigate and prosecute any criminal violation in Indian country. Again, the United States is stating that even though we're giving Indians rights, we're still going to protect our rights and not give the Indian a right that kind of invalidates or nullifies our control over them. Alright, I'll be right back. I'm trying to do something about the sliding. Juice run. Alright, that should solve any issue. All right, let's see. Yeah, that solves the lighting issue so much better. All right. All right, so habeas corpus means that in Indian courts, habeas corpus is available. No, it must be available in Indian courts. Tribal jurisdiction over crimes, domestic violence, definitions in this section, dating violence. Please note, I only lightly went over in the previous videos, I only lightly went over these sections. So this is dating violence. This is all known to me. It means violence committed by a person who has been in a social relationship of a romantic or intimate nature with the victim, determined by the length of the relationship, type of the relationship, the frequency of interaction between the persons involved in the relationship. So there's dating violence. I guess that means you're not married because down here they have domestic violence. So this deals with a current spouse or a former spouse. All right, and it makes an interesting note within this section, within this part or section, is talking about that has. So this is talking about domestic violence and dating violence that occurs in Indian country. Indian country. The term Indian country has the meaning given to the term in 151151 of Title 18 of the United States Code. So this is definition of what participating tribe means. They're talking about the kind of protection orders that Indian tribes under the control of the United States government are allowed to use. So it's basically talking about restraining order. So it just seems like they're giving Indians the same set of rules. The same set of rules. It's like giving Indians a miniature copy of United States government within their own tribal setting, but separate from the general setting of the United States. In general, notwithstanding any other persons, not in general, notwithstanding any other provisions of the law, in addition to all powers of self-government recognized and affirmed by sections 201 and 203, the powers of self-government of participating tribe, including the inherent power of that tribe, which is recognized and affirmed to exercise special domestic criminal. I think I understand what this act is all about now, or at least section 2. They're saying that the Indian has the right to carry out laws as long as they're close to or in compliance with United States laws. Concurrent jurisdiction, the exercise of special domestic violence criminal jurisdiction by a participating tribe shall be concurrent with the jurisdiction of the United States or of both. Applicability, nothing in this section. What does that mean? Nothing in this section. Sorry. Applicability, nothing in this section creates or eliminates any federal or state or criminal jurisdiction over Indian or Indian country. So the United States is saying all the rights that we give you Indians in this bill does not nullify, violate, or contradict any prior power the United States has had over you. Victim and defendant are both non-Indians. Oh, that's kind of interesting. All right, the exceptions. If victim and defendant are both non-Indians in general, the participating tribe may not exercise special domestic violence criminal jurisdiction. Definition of eviction and subparagraph and with this is just more legal jargony. Defendant lacks ties to the Indian tribe. A participating tribe may exercise special domestic criminal jurisdiction over a defendant only if the defendant resides in Indian country. Okay, so you're also stating that there is a spot of land called Indian country. There are Indians on that land that are under the control of the United States government. The United States government recognizes that these Indians, even though they're being oppressed and controlled by the United States government, they still have their powers of self-government. They still have their courts, they still have their councils, they still have their different forms of political bodies, which is their executive, legislative, and other form and tribunals and other forms of governing groups. And while on that land, they are allowed to exercise their laws only if they do not first contradict with the United States laws, and nothing in this document is to be construed as nullifying any United States law or nullifying any power the United States has over them. Now, if there's a crime that's committed within the jurisdiction of the Indian, it has to be prosecuted in compliance with United States law. That's what I'm gaining from this right now. And in addition to that, it's stating that it's just trying to be as clear as possible using confusing legal jargon, telling you that what the people in Indian country can and cannot do with their laws on their land controlled by the United States government. More domestic violence, United States Code, rights of defendants. Because it's pretty much like having a court case with the standards of the United States courts. Habeas corpus basically means you have to provide proof that there was a crime, meaning provide the body. If someone's been murdered, you gotta provide a body. So this part right here is talking about that if there is a form or a letter that is made out to the court, because Most of these forms are just letters that you send from yourself to another person, telling them what you want done or what has to be done. It's being done in a formal way. And this is a form. It's talking about a form being sent out for habeas corpus, and that. All right. So a person who's filed a writ of petition for habeas corpus in a court of the United States under may petition to further may petition that court to further the stay of a detention. Okay, so someone files a writ, they want proof of a crime, and then the United States can petition the Indian court to hold the defendant longer to prove that crime has been committed. Grant of stay, I might be wrong. These are legal jargon words. You think the word may is optional, in which it is in English, but in legalese, it means you must do it. All right, F grants to tribal governments. All Attorney General may the Attorney General may award grants to the governments of Indian tribes or to authorize designee these these are designees of the government to strengthen tribal criminal justice systems to assist Indian tribes in exercising special domestic violence criminal jurisdiction, including a law enforcement, including the capacity of law enforcement. Whoa, 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 whoa. No, let's not get all too into legalese. What does that mean? Irregular people speak. All right. So the Attorney General may award grants, probably money. So the Attorney General may give money Indian governments or authorized representatives or people that they say can receive that money for domestic violence crimes, for law enforcement of some like for law enforcement in various capacity, which is listed right here: prosecution, tribal, appellate courts, probation systems. So they're saying that they can get money from the government to basically get their criminal system up and running. No, in all these rights of Indians, if there's a criminal, he also has to get a public defendant. I believe that public defendant has to be paid for by the Indian tribe. Authorizations of appropriations. There are authorized to be appropriated $5 million for each fiscal year of fiscal years of 2014. This you see, this is why I like you to read this one. See, it's not this tight stuff where they can change stuff in it. So let me scroll down to alright, I'm on page 8 over here. Alright. So I know you probably can't see this, and the words are super blurry on this one, but to me I can read them very clearly. Now, Title 1, this old copy, is a lot bigger than Title 1 in this copy. Alright? So let's do a little comparison here, which is really important. Title 2, Rights of Indians. Wow. So it seems like the original title, it seems like they've been adding stuff because this is the end of Title 2. And here they're telling you that Indians are supposed to get $5 million each year for their fiscal year. Where is at the end of this Title 2, they ain't saying nothing about that $5 million. So they've been adding stuff to this bill. In addition, the original bill bans you from writing. So, so, no. I want the rights. Yes. So according to the 1968 Civil Rights Bill, you can't write. So according to Public Law 19-284, you can't write. So, um, if you there are two copies of this I found online. In one section 2 is a lot longer than the other section 2. Model Code governing courts of Indian offenses. So let's go down to section 3. Model Code governing courts of Indian offenses. Alright. So it seems like section 3 is about the same size as the last one. And it seems like it's a carbon copy, so I'll have to do a video on that on another day. But as you can clearly see, Title 2 in this newer copy, which is easy to read and is less blurry, is way larger than the previous Title 2. And it seems like the original Title 2 was only the first 10 sections, which basically state that Indians can have their laws on their lands, but it cannot violate any of the laws that the United States government previously has. So the original Section 2 is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, all the way down to 10. So it's basically Section 1, whereas this Section 2 is nearly 10 different sections with 10 subsections, and the only part that's the same as the original is Part 1. So let's see, is this the same bill? Is this the same bill? This is Public Law 90-284, 82 Statute 73. What is the difference about it? As amended through Public Law 113-4, and it's been enacted in 2013. So this law has been updated through the years. It seems like they keep the core parts the same, but the more I read it, the more interesting it gets. Because in section 1, what? Do we see anything that tells us we can't write it? No. They say this part is has been amended and now it's now a part of this law. But over here in the original, it's telling you you cannot riot anymore. Right there in section 1 or chapter 1, title 1, telling you that you can't riot no more. And section 2 tells you the Indian can have their laws. Remember, these are Indians under the control of the United States government or oppressed by the United States government. If they're free and independent people, why should they be under control of another government? It's like that whole situation with China and Taiwan or China and Tibet. They both say that they're independent countries. While China says, no, we have control over you. So a bill stating, so if China passed a law telling Tibet that it's giving them these rights, they would have to reject the bill because it would be a way of surrendering if they're still supposed to be free or if they have never surrendered. All right, so let me stop this video here. I would like to, let's see now. I would like to give an acknowledgement to the American Indian Council channel. I am very grateful for the video it did. And I hope that anyone who watches this video reads the the Civil Rights Act of 1968. I hope you read the original first, and then the amendments that went through, that were done to it later on, all the way up to 2013, and see how they omit stuff from it. Alright, that's the end of this video. I'm probably gonna do Genesis 7 because y'all be Genesis 6.